Good morning and welcome back to the 183rd of our Bible studies. At the moment we're looking at some Hebrew poetry that's not in the book of Psalms but in other parts of the Old Testament. And as promised, today we're looking at some verses from the book of Job. I'm looking particularly today at Job chapter 41, verses 1 to 11, and then verses 26 to 34. Yahweh is speaking to Job. Can you catch the monster Leviathan with a fishhook? Can you tie his tongue with a rope? Can you put a rope through his nose or a hook through his jaws? Is he likely to ask you to let him go or plead for mercy? Is he likely to sign a peace treaty and promise to serve you? Can you put him in a birdcage to amuse the housemaids? Can you chop him up and sell him in the fish market? Can you bring him down with spears or harpoons? Just try it once. He won't give you a second chance. It will be an unforgettable fight. Anyone who sees Leviathan is scared and faints. He is so fierce when aroused, no one can resist him. No one who attacks him is safe. No one in all the world. There doesn't exist a sword, a spear or lance that could harm him. To him iron is as flimsy as straw, and brass is like rotten wood. He doesn't flee from the bow or the sling. He laughs at your puny clubs and spears. Look at the scales on his belly, like bits of broken pot, tearing up the muddy ground like the flints on the threshing sledge. Look at how he churns up the water like a pot of boiling oil. Behind him he leaves a shiny path of white foam on the surface of the sea. On earth he is fearless beyond compare. He despises even the proudest of beasts. He is king of them all. In this poem, God is describing chaos and asking Job to contemplate how he would have reduced it to order. The writer uses the imagery of an ancient creation legend in which God had to fight a great monster personifying disorder and destruction, here called Leviathan. The triumph of order over chaos, God over the forces of confusion, is what gave rise to the world. The bones and carcass of Leviathan become the mountains and hills, the landscape we live on, the sea surrounding it remaining mysteriously chaotic and unpredictable. It does no one any favours to read poetry as if it is a scientific treatise. Here we are in a world of poetry, of simile and metaphor. I think it is likely that for the Leviathan, what the writer had in mind was a kind of giant crocodile with powerful muscles and a scaly, impenetrable skin. Its belly is likened to a thresher's sledge, which was made of boards and big enough for the farmer to stand on. On its underside it will have been studded with flints, and a draught animal will have hauled it across the threshing floor to separate the wheat from the chaff. Always in our present universe, the arrow of time flows only in one direction, and as a consequence, in the natural course of events, order will inevitably descend into chaos. There are two main events that have gone against this law of nature, much to the puzzlement of humans. First, the beginning of the universe, and with it the laws of nature, and second, the origin of life and the writing of the genetic code. Atheistic scientists like Richard Dawkins insist that these both came to be by the random happenings of chance, but others like John Polkinghorne, Stephen C. Meyer, and more recently Michio Kaku are seeing intelligence in the design of the universe. People of faith have taught us much all along, and although the legend of Leviathan depicts creation as a struggle, The writers of the first chapters of Genesis, which we looked at back on days 1 to 5, makes creation a deliberate and orderly process, with intelligence as its origin and as its supreme expression. Well, tomorrow we find more of the poetry of wisdom, this time in the thoughtful book called Ecclesiastes. I'll see you tomorrow.